While many people have heard of cavitation energy as responsible for propeller damage, this is an energy that can be harnessed for the production of steam and ultimately the creation of electricity or for many other uses. Cavitation energy, the way we use it, is energy released by water vapor bubbles when they are crushed at pressures exceeding 100,000 psi in an asymmetric collapse. This occurs when the bubbles impact with the surface of our impact chamber at 1,700 meters per second. The bubbles are the result of hydrodynamic cavitation created as the heated water stream exits the 7 orifices of the modified fuel injector at extremely high velocities. The vapor pressure of the water when heated to temperatures of 95 degrees Celsius is up to 40 times that of water at room temperature. This greatly enhances the cavitation phenomenon. We have machined our impact chambers so that they naturally cause the vapor bubbles to become constrained into asymmetric shapes as they're injected at hypersonic speeds. This causes the implosions, which release temperatures over 18,000 degrees Kelvin, as is predicted by the Rayleigh-Plasat equation. If you don't live inside theoretical physics papers for fun, the Cliff Notes version of the Rayleigh-Plasat equation is that with very small bubbles approaching zero volume, implosions means something you would not expect. That with a theoretical zero gas content for a bubble, the implosion of the bubble gains an infinite inward velocity. There is much more to the actual dynamics of this, but for now, please see this as a look into the background of why tiny injected bubbles can have so much potential for an explosive release of kinetic energy or heat. This kinetic energy is the key to releasing massive amounts of power from fresh or salt water, power that we can harness in a steam boiler and then power a turbine with. This is cavitation energy the way we are using it. Put another way, our system uses molecular impact steam technology in a heated, sealed, vorticial chamber. Rather than obsessing on the theoretical nature of this, our objective is to show people that actual cavitation effect in real life, to show what happens when high-velocity, 1,700 meter per second, high-pressure, 20,000 psi water jets are directed at the surface of a sealed vorticial impact chamber, creating shock waves and asymmetrical bubble collapse. This kinetic energy heats a steam boiler, which in turn can run a turbine. The new prototype of our cavitation energy system unit, which is planned to be supplying energy to the Lake Worth Power Utility Plant, will be built by Florida Atlantic University. The science on the how of our system is currently under study for insights by many institutions in several countries. Our enterprise with FAU and Lake Worth is not so much about the how. Our enterprise is centered around the actual power we can produce and how much less it will cost Lake Worth and other cities than other electric power sources will cost them. The scale of our installations compares more to building large truck and steam engines than it does to nuclear technology, meaning investment costs are orders of magnitude less. Our technology uses readily available and inexpensive materials and uses water as fuel. We have proven in tests monitored and certified by Florida Atlantic University that with fresh water as fuel, cavitation energy releases 5 times the energy put into it, making it one of the most intriguing alternative energy developments in existence today. With salt water as fuel, we are seeing an input of 1 unit of power into our cavitation engine, creating 18 units of output power from our cavitation engine to make electricity with. This release of energy from saltwater cavitation into the resultant plasma causes sodium and potassium ions in the plasma to strike the solid sides of our proprietarily designed impact chamber in such a manner that the binding electrons are torn off. This process from our cavitation injectors delivers a continuous stream of charged protons that explode violently into a plasma cloud with higher velocities than seen in thermal explosions or reactions. Please hear this again. These quantum explosions achieve higher velocities than possible in thermal explosions. These explosions are known to the world of chemistry as quantum explosions, but previously no one knew how to harness a series of high-velocity quantum explosions into a system that could perform continual work, as in spinning a turbine to produce electricity. Similarly, no one had ever figured out before how to use quantum explosions in any form of an engine, something that could turn the propellers of a large naval or cargo vessel. Suddenly, we have a blueprint for a marine power plant in large ships that could make cross-continental trips exponentially less expensive, non-polluting, and where a relatively small amount of fuel material will be taking up space in the ship. And of course, we can add our cavitation engines to solar or natural gas-powered electric power plants and evolve them into generating 18 times more power than ever before. This is 18 times more without carbon emissions, meaning natural gas plants become clean. And with the plasma steam byproduct of our energy production, we can clean end-of-life solar components of toxic heavy metals like lead and cadmium and recycle for new solar installations at cost levels so low as to be disruptive to the Chinese market. Our modular engine, because it uses multiple interlocking units, can come in many forms and sizes depending upon the workload needed to do the job and the work area available for the job. Each unit in our modular engine consists of one specially designed impact chamber and one injector with 7 orifices. Scaling up to create more power in an installation is dramatically easier and less costly than with the conventional power systems. Our first prototype, certified by FIU and described in the many papers, used an injector and a hydraulic pump. We used a water pump with a half horsepower at 60 psi to bring the water from the reservoir to the injector. The water pump used 400 watts of energy. We used a 2 horsepower hydraulic pump to bring the oil pressure in the injector up to 3,000 psi. The injector then brought the water pressure up to the desired 21,000 psi. Our pump used 1,500 watts. We used a single computer to control injection speed, number of injections per second, and temperature, and to measure steam output in pounds per hour. The computer and control module used a total of 100 watts. The water pressure was increased to 21,000 psi. A water droplet of 0.275 milliliters was then shot at the supersonic speed of 1,700 meters per second into the heated and sealed impact chamber through each of the 7 orifices in a modified Ford Motor Company diesel fuel injector at a controlled rate of 6 injections per second for each injector. That's 6 injections per second for the engine. This provided us with a continuous set of injections over the course of an hour. Each injected water droplet impacts the impact chamber wall, causing the cavitation phenomenon, with the imploding bubbles temporarily reaching temperatures in excess of 18,000 degrees Kelvin, causing an internal ionization of the water, resulting in a chemical change, which forces the droplet of water into a gaseous oxygen-hydrogen plasma soup containing free electrons. As the plasma rapidly cools, the electrons in the gaseous oxygen and hydrogen recombine, resulting in an enormous explosion and shock wave of energy. All this happens within 5 milliseconds for each of the 21,600 injections over the period of an hour, generating continuous heat. As shown on the screen, the total energy expended for the entire operation is only 2,000 watts, with the water continuously recycled. With our first tiny prototype that FAU certified, we created 100 pounds, 12.5 gallons of 600 degree Fahrenheit steam per hour. Our heat energy was 322 watts per pound, which created 10,000 watts. The energy needed for our operation was 2 kilowatts, while our output was 10 kilowatts. And again, this was for fresh water. The tests of our cavitation energy technology have been certified by Florida Atlantic University. Papers explaining the chemistry and physics are now placing several additional universities and colleges at the forefront of this new field in alternative energy. And the new science is finally out on what is causing salt water to generate at the 1 in and 18 out level, this being the Coulombic explosions catalyzed by the plasma in the cavitation engine. We are now at the point where we need to create a presentation version prototype at Florida Atlantic University. This will be built at their engineering facility in a large 40-foot container where it will be developed to become a showcase for the prototype and proof for electric energy production. Will also allow us to provide an initial cost per kilowatt that the cavitation energy systems prototype delivers with. This is where the 1-to-5 equation will be shown first with fresh water, where the 1 kilowatt of power input to make cavitation energy puts out 5 kilowatts of electrical power. This first phase unit will be designed to produce more than enough power to run a home or city building. The power utility of Lake Worth will then be able to show our technology and its cost per kilowatt to the town that we could produce with this technology, knowing that we can scale this up in phase 2 to be powerful enough to run a city block, the entire downtown, or to produce much more with reliable cost estimates for each. Also by phase 2, the salt water version of the cavitation engine will be operating with Coulombic injection and generating the 1 in and 18 out power just discussed. This will be historic, the first time Coulombic injection will have ever been used to maintain its violent and high-velocity explosions continuously in an engine over a long duration. This will produce continuous electrical power. Once in Phase 2, we'll also be able to begin pricing out various size cavitation systems to large power companies, towns, or countries. The business or government takeaway from all this is that cavitation energy offers a welcome and dramatic reduction in costs, along with 5-time increase in power for freshwater and saltwater to as high as 18 times increase in power outputs. Cavitation energy systems is also clean energy. It releases no greenhouse gases or any other pollutants whatsoever.